Hi, I'm Kenji.
And I'm Vic, and welcome to DSPA Newscast number 17. It's only been a month since we put out 16. We're getting better at this.
Yeah, we are. We finally have time, right?
We do. We finally have time. Life is getting semi-normal. Of course, except now all my clients are realizing winter's coming and we need a bunch of stuff shot. So it's like, okay, thanks. Of course, my VO's on vacation and you and I are going to be in DC at the end of the month. So trying to
Yep.
cram all this stuff in at the same time
Yep.
is always kind of fun, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
It keeps us busy, keeps us humble usually, especially when things don't go right. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about Commercial UAV Expo, which we were at. That was awesome.
Yep.
A little bit about remote ID, maybe get some of the confusion out there. Talk a little bit about some of the new declarations of compliance.
Mhm.
Northfield, Ohio, the village of Northfield, Ohio. Thanks to Chad Hankins. He sent it our way, and it's like Northfield and Oxford, California. Oxford or Oxnard?
Oxnard,
Oxnard,
I think. Yeah.
California. Or doing things you're not supposed to do when it comes to controlling the NAS, as is the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They like to play a little fast and loose with their rules. So we'll talk about that a little bit.
Yep.
2023 FAA Reauthorization Act is coming up.
Mhm.
Not a lot going on with it yet, thanks to the election cycle. But I imagine towards the end of November, in the December timeframe, before everybody stops for Christmas, that's going to get pretty hopping, especially in January. We'll get rocking on that pretty quick. I've got a new class.
You do?
I do. I've got a new class for the Pilot Institute. So I'm going to do a little shameless self plug here a little bit, talk about that. And then you're going to update Oregon.
Yeah.
Where it stands with the Oregon Parks and Rec. We hear questions about that every once in a while. It pops into people's mind.
Yeah. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah. What should we start with?
I don't know. What do you want to do?
Let's start with commercial UAV because that was
Yeah.
that was kind of that was fun.
That
That was
was
really
fun,
fun.
but we made a lot of good connections
A
and
lot of good connections, which is really why we go. We're not really on any panels. I didn't really even get a chance to walk the floor, which was a shame because there's a lot of really neat stuff there. They had 200 and no, how many vendors did they have?
I
Over
don't know.
200 or over 300? My brain, I should have looked that up. My brain just left me.
It was great, and attendance was fantastic too. It
Oh,
was
attendance
over
was
4,000.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was at or above pre-COVID levels. So they were
Yeah.
really happy about that. It was incredibly well organized. I
What
wish they
wasn't it
would.
that it was so busy that John McBride went into hiding?
Yeah, John McBride went into hiding. I don't blame him. The dude can't get anything done if he's on the floor.
Yeah.
So he did his perfunctory. Um, Here I am at the Autel booth, and then Autel actually did. They were smart enough. They had a suite in the upper parts of the facility, in the hotel. I mean, and that's where they did their business. It just nothing can get done at the Autel booth if John's there.
Yep.
Um, God love him, but yeah, he's just way too popular.
Yeah. You
Everybody
know,
wants to touch his hair.
I got to say the most interesting conversations that we had were with Derek and Christopher from the FAA
Yeah,
and
that was
from the
cool.
waiver office.
You're the tree guy.
Yeah, yeah. I got called the tree guy, and
Oh, you're
then
the
oh,
tree
you're the
guy.
ACAM guy. Yeah,
Yeah, it was. I was not real. How can I be diplomatic? Um, I did not find their answer to my question very reasonable.
yeah.
But then again, they didn't specifically know what my rejection was about, and they kind of poo-pooed my request for an answer. Which, that's fine. I get it. They have a lot of waivers they look at, but we'll see. I do have my third one in. So FPV, BV loss, non-VO waiver.
Mhm.
I think I got smart this time, and instead of asking for all of Gulf airspace, um, I asked for a little park about 3 miles from my house, a limited entrance park. So hopefully, hopefully I answered all their questions, and we'll go from there. But I
Well,
want to go out there and fly the Avata around the trees. It's fun.
yeah, for mine, what it was after my conversations with them, it was very clear that they wanted a sandbox around or bigger rails around my operations
Uh,
for my FPV BV loss in sort of an open area. And they just wanted it so it had a little bit more structure to it in terms of the technology used, the area of operations, sort of what they're like.
mhm.
So not just anybody could do it anywhere, uh, with anything. So I
Right.
think that's what their biggest concerns were, because once my waiver opens the door, the floodgates will open, because that's what happened once I published all my information from the last
And
FPV
that's what.
BV loss waiver, and they got a lot. So he's like,
Mhm.
"You're that guy." I'm like, "Yes, I am."
And we want that to happen.
Yeah.
We want. So did you get rejected for your expansion, or did you get an
No,
extra?
no, I got an RFI.
Oh,
So
okay,
what's
RFI.
called a request for information.
Right.
And that's when the FAA asks for additional information to support your
Perfect.
application for a waiver. So I went through it, spent some time, thought about it, wrote down the technical requirements for the drone itself.
Mhm.
Included, for example, the resolution of the FPV camera and also
Oh.
the goggles as well. And I said it has to be digital rather than analog, for the reason that digital is going to be a lot clearer.
Mhm.
So you're not getting
Interesting.
that static. So you can see the trees and everything in a little bit better manner as well.
Ooh, I
Uh,
like that. If I get an RFI, I'm gonna send it your way.
yeah, no worries. And the other thing is how to increase the conspicuity of it. And what I said, I have some 3M retroreflective tape, and I said I'd
Mhm.
put that on the drone as well, just so it can be seen better. Uh,
Seems unnecessary.
Yeah, I know, but it's one of those things where if you can do it, do it, and it's really cheap and it's super easy and doesn't affect the
Yeah.
function of the drone itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did that. What else did I do?
The sound of the Avada. You're gonna
No,
hear that thing a long time
there
before you see it.
there was also a
I
question
know.
about how am I going to make sure that folks who are also flying under my waiver understand what to listen for, what the safety requirements are. And I said, look, it's going to be like how we did our daylight waivers. Remember, we have a little
Mhm.
oral exam. I said I'd have a
Yep.
little oral exam on what to listen for and how to react if if you hear um, a helicopter approaching to ground it, or if you see somebody in the operating area, immediately ground. Just let everybody else know to land as well. So it's just these little operational things that
Right.
puts a little bit more structure to what we're doing. So it's a little bit harder,
Okay.
but at the same time safer.
Okay.
So
That makes
yeah,
sense. That makes sense. So that you haven't heard back from the RFI yet.
no, I just submitted it the end of September, so
Okay,
September
cool.
30th. Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll keep everybody updated on that.
Yep.
Let everybody know where things are.
Hmm.
And hopefully I won't get rejected. I'll get an RFI. Actually, hopefully I'll get an approval, but we'll see, because it is like your first one. Mine's very limited to where I can fly it. So
Hmm.
hopefully that'll help quite a bit.
Hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about Oxnard and Northfield. Oxnard, California, not Oxford. I have no idea where that is.
Not
Uh,
Oxfords.
not Oxford, California. No, because could you imagine naming a town that? Oh my goodness. No one would ever move there. That's why they named Greenland instead of Iceland. That it was taken. Okay, back to what we're talking about here. Oxnard. I'm going to share my screen here.
Okay.
Um, and Oxnard is, where is it? That's Northfield. And so Oxnard, their Community Services, Public Safety, Housing, and Development Committee passed drone rules, which I guess you can as that. We have not seen exactly what that looks like yet. You can see what my search is like with all the ads from B&H. But it is, let me see if I can find it here. So basically, they don't want people flying within 400 feet of certain areas. Um, and obviously, you and I both understand, as do most people that listen to us, they can't do that. Um, so here we go. Oh, now closer than 25 feet to a person. Under the influence, yeah, cannabis, blah, blah, blah. That makes sense. But there's no reasonable expectation of privacy either. But they're talking about state laws. And so wouldn't, um, in our case, would not the SCOTUS rulings in Cirillo versus Florida or versus California, Riley versus Florida, wouldn't that override state law when it comes to reasonable expectation of privacy? He's thinking.
I'm thinking.
I don't know how
Uh,
that works.
yeah, because there are state privacy laws,
Mhm, mhm.
and they're often pretty constrained. for example, there's a reasonable expectation of privacy within your own home.
Right. Right.
But within your own curtilage, that's a little bit murkier. Where the federal sort of rulings will impact that greatly. So
Especially since one of the main rulings is in California already anyway.
yeah.
So that seems the one that most people reach out to.
Yeah.
So keep your eyes open for that. I haven't found anything written or signed yet. So
Well,
we'll see on that.
yeah. You also think about the Texas statute that was
Heck, exactly.
that
So
was
there's that. I
thrown
didn't think
out.
about that. So that's
Mhm.
perfect. And then the other one, let's go to the other one here.
Oh, this one's a doozy.
This one's fun. This one's fun. Northfield, Ohio.
Yeah, it's like
And
you
thank you,
can't fly.
Chad. Thank you,
Yeah,
Chad. That was great that you sent this to us.
you
This I did
can't
find.
you can't fly above 400 feet.
Uh-huh. Oh, here was the 400 feet when I was a little confused by that. So here you go. No person shall operate within the municipal limits of Northfield, any unmanned aircraft or drone.
Well, under Part 107, we can go under over 400
Exactly.
feet. It's
Exactly. So they're
as long
saying
as
within 400 feet of public
yeah,
school, private property, municipal owned buildings, active crime scenes, fire, accidents, communication towers. That's probably why it upset Chad so much, because that's kind of what he does. He flies communication towers. Over roadway is prohibited, although there's a caveat there as a distraction, which is a good idea.
yeah.
And again, we get into the whole NAS issue
Well,
that
there
was
are so
thrown out
many
in Texas.
distractions already.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like, why are you pulling out drones? People are doing all
Exactly.
sorts of dumb things anyways. Billboards are distractions. I wonder if they outlaw those.
Exactly. Other
Yeah.
people are distractions. Yeah.
What if they really want to do something, why don't they say interference with crime scenes or
Exactly.
fire accidents
That's how we
instead of
worded it.
saying you can't fly near it? It's like
Mm-hmm.
you can't interfere.
Mm-hmm.
The interference is the important
Is
part.
the key, and that's how we worded it here in Colorado, is interfering with the first emergency situation or first responder. And I like G, where it says you're not allowed to operate any UAS or drone anytime between 30 minutes after 30 minutes before sunset. It's like, dude,
No,
no, you
sorry,
cannot
no,
do that.
no.
So if you live in or near the beautiful village of Northfield, Ohio, reach out. It was interesting that it popped up as quick as it did, especially with some of the other things we've done in Ohio.
Yeah.
And if you need to go to a meeting and not sure how, reach out to us and let us know, because we'd be
Our
more than happy to do that with you on Zoom.
Yeah, so our friends over at AUVSI are also aware of this as well.
Oh, cool.
So I think what it'll take is we should send a letter. Hopefully, AUVSI will send a letter, and then potentially have some folks say, "Hey, you can't do this
You can't
at
do
a meeting."
that. Yeah, yeah. So we'll send stuff to Miss Domzalski. I'm sorry if I'm ruining your name.
Demzalski?
Domzalski,
Yeah,
the mayor.
yeah.
And
Police
some of the other
chief.
folks, police chief, fire chief, and I'm sure they've got a
Yeah,
um
yeah. It might
they don't have the
be
person
interesting
listed.
to
Anyway,
pull in the Law Enforcement Drone
there you
Association,
go.
drone responders to send notes to their police and fire chiefs as well and say, "Hey,
That's not a bad idea.
yeah,
That's not a bad idea at all.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
So those two are in the pipeline. So let's keep an
mhm.
eye on those. I don't see it anywhere where it says it has to do a second reading and voting and blah blah blah. It seems like it was enacted earlier last month. So we'll look into that a little bit more. And speaking of looking into things, FA Reauthorization Act.
Mm,
That's going to be fun. That's going to be a lot of work,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
But again, that'll be in that next month. Did we already talk about that? Am I getting things confused again? I need more coffee.
yeah,
I
yeah.
need more coffee. So that's
Well,
going to be, we're going to have to watch out for that. And lots of people are keeping their eyes on that. It's not just DSPA, obviously. We've got
mhm,
Lisa and her group are doing it. AUVSI is watching it.
yeah,
Hopefully the manufacturers are watching it, that kind of thing, because we got to make sure that it does not become political,
yep,
what they're trying to do with drones.
yep,
There's just too much benefit to this country that either both safety wise and economically, that we can't let Congress listen to the wrong people and mess this up for us.
yep.
They
and
might be well-meaning. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
they started some hearings, and I was kind of bummed that they didn't have any actual drone service providers on board testifying, because you have large companies, great, but do you have any the operators who are conducting most of the operations? The folks on there are perfect. I think they should not remove anybody, but I think they should add somebody to sort of give our voice as well.
Right. Because it was
with respect to
missing.
the
And
reauthorization.
kind of a bum. Kind of bum we didn't get any invite on that, but
yeah,
that's okay.
The other thing to watch out for the legislation is the counter UAS. There was a national action plan, and from what I'm hearing, it doesn't look like anything's going to happen this year. If anything, it'll be with the Reauthorization Act.
Okay.
But yeah, one of our biggest concerns is actually one of my biggest concerns, and it's shared by a couple others in the industry, is that there are civil forfeiture pieces to it. So in essence, if you're accused of something, they can you can forfeit your property. It's like, wait a second, no,
that's
and then
there's illegal search and seizure.
Yeah, and there's also an issue if your drone gets taken down and you're operating lawfully, there's no recourse.
Yep.
So it's like, wait a second, no, if somebody does something stupid and there is no reason to even suspect that there was an issue going on, there should be a way for us to collect, especially for flying things that can be upwards of 100K. Lose it. It's like, no, if you did it, you pay for it. So we need to monitor that very carefully and make sure that there is recourse for us in case that
absolutely because it can't be written into law. It's like, oh, you made a mistake, sorry, too bad, you're not responsible for it, because that's nonsensical. Nonsensical. I think Dr. Seuss invented that word.
Did he?
I don't know. Is it? He used it a lot in some of his stories. Nonsensical.
No,
I like that. He didn't. Okay, I'm going to give him credit anyway because he's a good guy. Theodore Giesel was his name.
Yeah. Alumni of my college.
Oh, how cool!
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Does he have a plaque?
I think so. Yeah.
Awesome. I say, if not, you should have the college put out a plaque. The update on what you're doing. Actually, a lot of people reached out when Oregon State Parks, whatever they're called, asked for comments, and there were a lot of awesome comments. And we've had a few people reach out and say, "Where's that at?" So, Kenji, where's that at?
So we had a bunch of rulemaking advisory committee meetings, which brought together a lot of stakeholders. And what's fun is we all got along really well. So the bird folks were awesome. They were, the Audubon folks were really great. The coast folks were really great. U.S. Fish and Wildlife were great as well as Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. It was interesting in the process. Once we started writing things down, they went, these are the sensitive areas. This is where we don't want drones to be. And okay. And they're subsequently said, anywhere else, we don't care.
which is what we were trying to get.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what they were arguing
everywhere
against us.
Except where there's conflicts. So that's where that went. And in the process right now, Oregon State Parks is coming up with a series of maps, taking into consideration the parameters we said would be important in terms of determining where we can and can't take off and land. Because remember, it's only takeoff and landing. They got that.
And land. They're smart because you helped them with that.
We helped them with that.
That's right.
So once those maps are developed, then they'll be presented to us. We'll be able to take a look at them, and then they'll be presented to the Parks and Rec the board, in essence, for approval.
Do you have a time frame on that, or is it the usual government when it's ready time frame?
It's going to take a while, just for the sole reason that they have to go park by park. So it's going to take a while.
Are they getting local input from other people around the park? Like, let's say it's Bob's Park in XYZ, Oregon. Do they put out like a call for testimony, or is they just
they include the park manager in that process? So that in essence will be avenue for people to,
Awesome.
yeah.
Then did you fly your Mini 3 for the bird people to help them
I
understand how
did.
quiet that is? What'd they
I
think?
did. They were shocked at how quiet
Awesome.
it was, and we took a huge selfie, and some of the bird folks wanted the photo to show, "Hey, this is pretty cool,"
That's
which
awesome.
was awesome.
That is so cool. That is so
Yeah.
cool. That's just goes to show you if we do what we if we act nice, we usually get good results.
Yeah. And balanced results.
Balanced results. I think that's a good way to put it. That's why you're the lawyer, right?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I want to revisit one thing about counter UAS real quick.
Mhm.
I was going to ask if you heard. I heard this when you mentioned it. It popped in memory. Somebody reached out to me. I want to think it's last week and said that they heard that they're doing trial runs. The federal government's doing trial runs by letting up to 10 local or state public agencies get into the whole counter UAS mitigation thing as a test. Have you heard anything about that? Because I haven't.
That is in the proposal.
It is in the proposal.
Yes, it is in the
Okay.
proposal. 10 assault, state and local, tribal and territorial,
Okay.
and sort of a beta test. I don't know where that's going to go, or even if it's going to stay in the bill. It's kind of interesting and scary at the same
Oh,
time. So,
big time. Big time. And this isn't a knock on the local and the state cops. It really isn't. You and I are both very big supporters of law enforcement. But they have so much to do
mhm,
already. And in order to go through the training and the checklist and everything that they're going to have to do before they push the mitigate button, it seems unfair to them.
mhm.
And honestly, why would they need it? And this is me talking. Why would they need it? If somebody's being nefarious with a drone, is a mitigation really going to work? That's the issue, I think,
The
personally.
only where I could see it is major events.
In which case, probably FBI is going to be there. I can
Mhm.
testify to that.
Or well, you think about marathons and stuff
Oh,
that
true,
aren't,
true,
yeah. So
true. Well,
larger
we'll
events.
see. We'll see. We'll see.
Mhm,
I will do everything in my power as Vic Moss to make sure that that is very well regulated. And the decision process on who gets to try it out is one that's in place, and not just because they like them.
mhm.
We can't do the whole cronyism thing there. What happened? Where are you at with the? Also, people don't know that not everybody knows that you're on the Oregon State Aviation Board. Is that what it's
Yeah,
called?
so it's the Oregon Department of
There we
Aviation,
go.
and I'm on their board now. I was asked to be their expert on drones and AAM as well.
Awesome.
And I've already helped out the director of aviation. She is not an expert on AAM and drones as well. So
Hmm.
we did a presentation before the legislature to give an update on the Department of Aviation. And some of the slides were a little bit interesting in terms of avigation, easements and
That's a four-letter
such.
word.
I went, wait a second, wait a second, wait a second. Let's think through this and I helped educate her on some of the preemption issues,
Awesome.
and was able to modify some of the slides, um, to comply with uh, sort of the federal structure of the airspace
Structure.
and
That's a
such.
good way to put it.
Yes.
That's a good way to put it.
Yes.
And that was recently a thing in Texas too, wasn't it? That got taken out. Do you remember who was that said, "Oh yeah, I guess I shouldn't do that."
Um,
Anyway, so there was a success
well,
there as
let's
well.
keep
Yeah,
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 that's
there
one
was
of
a
them.
success there as well. So it's
Mhm,
happening, and it's most of the time behind the scenes. So that's a good thing to do. Yeah, I wasn't going to go too far into that because
mhm,
obviously there's things we can't talk about.
mhm.
I want to do a real quick shameless plug, and I'll put the link below. We'll put the links always that we talk about down below as well. But our friend Greg at Pilot Institute asked me to come out to Prescott, which is a beautiful little town, and film a photography class for him. So that was a kick in the pants. My wife went with me. So we spent some time down there, downtown Prescott, Arizona. Neat little town, a little bit of a homeless problem. But then again, everybody does at this point. But we spent 2 days down there filming. And I was added to the class he has right now with both Billy Kyle and Ken Dono. And Greg is also adding stuff to that class. So we'll put a link below. And yeah, if you'd like to learn a little bit about photography, go ahead and go to that. It's not free, but it's not expensive either. And I think my portion alone, Greg, says like 5.5 hours. So if you can stand, if you have to, if you don't mind paying, listen to me talk for 5.5 hours, and Billy and Greg, obviously are both really good presenters, as is, um,
Fun size dono.
Fun Size Dono, Fun Size. Yes, and I think that was his. Isn't that his comment? He called you Fun Size too, though. So.
Yeah, well, it's like calling the kettle black. It's like,
Exactly,
dude, you're
exactly.
fun size too.
I am not Fun Size.
No,
I'm cranky size sometimes.
yeah.
Which actually brings us to,
Oh, hey,
what? Wait, what?
back to Oregon State Parks.
Oh, back to Oregon State Parks.
Yeah, so they're drafting the maps. It's going to take a while, so I can't give a timeline just
Okay.
because it's a very involved process.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Sure. That makes sense. That makes sense. And I think if it's rushed, we all lose.
Yep.
It won't go as fast as we want, but it won't go as slow as we think.
Oh,
How does that sound?
During one of the meetings, it was interesting because we had it at a park, and the park manager said, "Hey, we haven't been letting people fly here because it's within 5 miles of an airport." I was like, "What?"
No.
So I went, no. I said, look, it's a Class G airport. All you got to do, all that people have to do is just see and avoid.
See and avoid.
Yep.
See and avoid.
And he's like, oh, okay, I can. This beach would be perfect for people to fly. I'm like,
awesome!
Yes!
Yay! Which brings us. That's a great segue.
Yeah.
Into the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We've seen this time and time again. I see it a lot in the forums, and this popped up last week, which made me think, you know what, it's time to do this again. This actually popped up in Greg's group, Pilot Institute group. Let's go back to sharing screen again.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pop over to the. Is that it? Nope. There it is right there. So these are the rules and regulations governing public use of the Corps of Engineers Water Resources Development Project, which, of course, that is what the Army Corps of Engineers does. TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority, things like that. If you go on their websites, and actually even in their little printed pamphlets, they love to use, which one is it? Scroll up here. Aircraft 327.4, number C. No, that's section C, isn't it? Because C is a letter. A lot of times you'll see written in their rules, no person shall operate any aircraft while on or above project waters or project lands. Boom, period. End of discussion. That's the rule. Don't do it. The problem is, and we see this, like I said, all the time, and I actually talked with a Corps pilot. He said, yeah, we've tried and they won't do anything. They won't change it because each one is kind of an autonomous little fiefdom. What they can and can't write in their rules. So the entirety of 327.4C is, and we'll put a post to this link to this below, no person shall operate any aircraft while on or above project waters or project lands in a careless, negligent, reckless manner so as to endanger any persons, properties, or environmental feature. They almost, I don't think I've ever seen it written totally in any regulation, either on their website or in their pamphlets, and they actually reference 327.4C as why you can't fly over their property.
Oops.
Yeah. Now, if you're on it, absolutely 100%, you're under their rules. No questions, no ands or buts. So yeah, either one person did it by accident and everybody copied, or everybody does it on purpose. I'm not sure which.
Yeah, they do it on purpose. Come on.
Yeah, they probably do. But yeah, the funny thing is, go ahead.
They are DOD. Yeah, they know how to do it.
They know how.
Are they
maybe
just
they don't
lazy? I mean, you can't do it. You can't fly above bases. There's national security and DOD sort of no fly zones.
Right.
If they're that concerned with it.
Yeah, they could impose that, but they don't.
They can go through that process.
They can go through that process. But the funniest thing, when they do this, when they just do the first half of C, they also don't bother mentioning D. 327.4D says, nothing in this section bestows authority to deviate from rules and regulations or prescribed standards of the appropriate state aeronautical agency or the Federal Aviation Administration, including but not limited to regulations and standard concerning pilot certifications, ratings, and airspace requirements. So if you have this, commander of your particular Army Corps of Engineer project, quit. Work with us. That's what we know. If you don't want us flying, and if it's not safe to fly, by all means, say, hey, don't fly here if you're on our property. But be realistic with what you're trying to do to us when it comes to flying off property, because there are some ACE properties that are not very big, and you can fly over them and remain visual line of sight. So, okay, I'm gonna step off my soapbox for a minute. I'm gonna stop
Yeah,
sharing. It's
yeah.
just it frustrates me that they go about doing this in a way that just really it's not very nice. Work with us. We're not a bunch of idiots out there. Well, some of us are. Um, there are some idiots, okay, and the only thing that proves is stupid people have money to buy drones. Work with us. That's all we really ask.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
No, we
Yeah.
appreciate what you do.
Mhm.
So it's
Absolutely, 100%. You guys keep the TVA running. You keep all kinds of fun things running. And you have a hard job at times, but don't make it harder on
yeah,
yourselves or on us. Okay,
yeah.
over.
Over.
Now let's. We're kind of running out of time here. Let's talk a little bit about the confusion that we're seeing a lot of remote ID at the moment.
Yeah.
Yes, there are some declarations of compliance.
Yes.
Does that mean we have remote ID on our drones?
No, it does
Nope.
not. It
No.
does not. It just means that it's remote ID capable.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's going to require either likely a firmware update to make it active. So
Mm-hmm.
the remote ID is not active on any drones as of right now, as
That we
far as
know of.
that we know of.
Yeah,
Correct.
there might be like the Evo 2, not the Evo 2, Evo Light and Evo Light Plus were put on there the 28th. And lots of the DJI products, Sony's. Sony has one.
Okay.
And oh, who else? Lots of DJIs, which is kind of cool to see. But again, that will have to be an update, like what they did with the Japanese when they updated the Japanese remote ID. Wingtra has one, which is kind of cool, and then a couple of microdrones.
Yep.
But now we also have, which is kind of cool, and you know about these, or at least a couple of them.
Mhm.
We have 3 modules for the module aspect of it. Zephyr Systems has a Module 100. Couldn't find anything about it this morning online. Drone Tag has the Mini. And
Mhm.
then finally, Blue Mark has their DB 100. Do you know anything about any of those 3?
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. I know we
Mm-mm.
looked at the drone tag and it's got a price tag of like $300 just from the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
So we'll see on that. The Blue Mark, from what I understand after talking with Mr. Messina,
Mhm.
is that could either be just like a module you're hanging on, or possibly not possibly one of the things is that you can wire it into like an FPV that you're building.
Mhm.
So those who need to who build FPV can wire it into their systems and be remote ID compliant. Now, question, just thought of this. Maybe you know the answer, maybe you don't. Suppose they take that Blue Mark. Let's say somebody down in Texas who builds drones for a living. um,
Oh, I know that person.
yeah, yeah. Let's say that he's building a drone for a client,
Yeah.
and the client says, "I want it remote ID compatible."
Yeah.
He goes, "Okay, I'm going to put a Blue Mark on it,
Okay.
and I'm going to tie it into the system."
If it's tied into the
And
system,
does that mean he then has to certify his drone as remote ID compliant, or you can just say, "I run the module on it"?
no, he can just submit a DOC.
But would he have
Eh,
to submit a DOC since it's
Yeah,
got
but
a
it's so
DOC
easy.
compliant module?
It's so easy.
Well, yeah, it's easy, but
Yeah.
why would he have to do that?
Then it'd be a
And
standard remote ID drone. Unless but remember that would also mean have the ground control station location would have to be compliant as well. So then it's just it'd be considered a module.
okay. Okay. So yeah, he would have to then do that. But like you said, it wouldn't be terrible to do it, but would he then have to do it to every drone he builds? Or could
No.
he do like, okay, so he as long as he builds that model with that module, the
Mhm.
Blue Mark, then he can just say remote ID compliant.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
The other workaround too is he doesn't sell the in one bundle
Mm-hmm.
the drone with the ground control station location, the ground control, the controller,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not a complete kit
Right.
if it doesn't have the controller, right?
Right.
So and you could put a condition on there that it should only be used for recreational purposes.
Interesting.
Wow.
Interesting. So you guys can go to Quad Standard Labs. I'll put a
Yeah.
link below because he's a good guy.
Yeah.
I got rid of the drones he built for me though. I'm sorry. Because I bought the Avata and that's what I needed.
Yeah.
But
I still fly my Squirt all the
oh
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would, but it's so much better for what I do. The Avata is just like almost the perfect little drone. So I'm looking to see if somebody else comes out with something like it.
It's a
Hint, hint.
it's a cheater drone. It's a
That's a
cheater
cheater
drone
drone. I'm okay with that.
for one shot. Yeah. Or one
Yeah.
take. They're
One
awesome.
takes.
I love mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will, I'm going to state this publicly, which I'll probably embarrass myself at some point because of this. I'm going to take this because this is the drone I'm going to use to learn how to fly manual mode.
Good.
Yeah, because I've got the oh poop button. Put it up a couple hundred feet after practicing on the sim and see if I can fly it. And if it gets out of control in the next 13 seconds, because it probably will, I hit the oh poop button and it stops and I'll try it again.
It's easy. Just practice.
I know. I got to put my big boy pants on and just do it.
Do it.
I just got to do it.
Just do it.
I got to do it because especially just flying it around my backyard, it's like, oh, if I could dive this, it'd be so cool.
Yeah. You can't fly it like you fly your Mavic 3, by the way.
Oh, I know. Hey, I fly my Mavic 3 nicely. Now just leave me alone on that. Oh, people watch the last video if you don't know what we're talking about. And then the other confusing part about remote ID is now we're seeing a lot of people say I have a declaration of compliance on my drone, so I can fly it over people now. Yay!
No.
Oh,
No.
Even if it's category 1.
Yeah.
And we'll disagree on what category 1 is, but that's okay. Yeah. We're both professionals. Don't please, because it's not compliant. Just because, like you said, what you just said, just because it does a declaration of compliance doesn't mean it's actively compliant.
Yeah.
DJI and others. I tried to reach out to John in time, and he's, he's all over the place. Getting him to sit down and talk. I don't know how.
Although, if they have a really small, under 250 gram drone, that's used a lot in FPV, and they have a module that's remote ID compliant that has their DOC, and it's actively transmitting. That's
if it's actively, there's the key right there. If it's actively transmitting,
then
they can fly over people.
Yep,
they can fly sustained flights over open air assemblies.
Yes,
yeah, we can fly over people right now with the Category 1 and only the Category 1 drone as of 12:24 Mountain Time on October 4th. That's the only thing we can fly over people at this point in time without a waiver.
Unless you have a pair zero.
Please don't say in case you have a pair zero.
No, there was John Bavala got a waiver for it.
He got a waiver because he has the pair zero. You can't fly just because you have a pair zero.
Oh yeah. You need the waiver.
We have to be very, very specific about what we say.
Yes.
Because people can take things so terribly wrong.
I know.
So terribly wrong, which is understandable. You and I get confused by the regs, and we know them inside out sometimes. So what else are we going to talk about today? Is that it?
I think that's it.
I think so too. So we'll put links below to join us, support us. We're going to talk about I think our next one, we'll talk about what we're going to do in DC, or what comes out of DC at the end of the month. We're going to DC on the 19th to the 21st. And I've already turned down a job because of that. It's like, that's frustrating.
Yeah.
And it has to be done on one of those 2 days too. So that's okay. That's what I signed up for. I'm not complaining too much. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So we kept it reasonable time.
Yeah.
And we'll put out as soon as we get more information on our Drone Pilot Safety Act with our friend we'll go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, with Jonathan Rupert. Sorry, Jonathan. I just talked to him for an hour Saturday and my brain left me. We'll get that hammered out, get that out there. And we really need people, once we do get something like that set up, to really, really, really push hard on getting us protected either with new language under 18 USC 32 or our own standalone language that will protect us federally either under 107 or under 44809.
Yep.
Because as it is right now, we have zero federal protection as drone operators. Our drones are protected, but we are not.
Mhm.
That's important.
Yeah.
On that note, on that happy note, I think we're good.
I think we're good. Yeah.
I think we're good. So everybody have fun, fly safe, fly happy. I should put a link below to my t-shirts that Dono makes. I think I will. So if
Fly
you guys want
happy.
to fly
Don't
happy
don't fly
t-shirt,
high.
no, fly happy. Big difference.
Yes, fly.
I'm not going there. So have fun. This is Vic.
And I'm Kenji.
And we'll see you next time on the Drone Service Provider Alliance Newscast, which will be number 18. Talk to you later.
Yeah. All right.
Bye.
Bye.